Bruce Jenkins, I am laughing at your comment before we even went live. I want my first annuity check. I'm jealous. I'm jealous. We're going to give it a second for people to get in here. While we're waiting, want to know what you guys did this weekend. Let me put it in comments. Let's see. Okay, y'all. Buenas, buenas. ¿Cómo estás? Hola, mi gente. Let me know what you guys did this weekend. I am half awake here. I went to Cologne on Friday, and it was a part of Cologne that I'd never been to before, and it was a journey, and I'm exhausted. It was a 3-hour boat ride out there. We got stuck on the rocks, ran out of gas in the boat. It was a lot. And then a 2-hour boat ride back because the tide was higher. But anyway, let me know what you guys did this weekend. So I did that on Friday, and I slept all day yesterday, and I'm mentally still sleeping now. So today we're going to be discussing purging your professional identity. We'll get into why I want to discuss that and what I mean by that. A lot of times when people are getting ready to move abroad, they're only discussing about purging your personal items, what you need to get rid of before you move. And no one really discusses purging your identity from your profession when you quit or you retire, and how you adjust to your new life abroad without that profession, for those of you who have moved without that profession. So anyway, we already had a comment from Bruce. He said, I purged my identity before I received my first annuity check. So for those of you that don't know, when did I quit my job? I quit my job at 46, and I was a utility director for wastewater treatment operations. And I had been in the wastewater industry since 1999. That is all I knew. That is all I ever did. And I feel like in the US, part of our identity, whether we like it or not, is our job and our job title. People like to put us in boxes immediately. Hi, my name is blah, blah, blah. You're out at an event, you're at a party or whatever. What do you do for a living, right? They're putting you in that box. And then you explain what they do, and they're sizing you up from that moment. So our profession is part of our identity. Okay, hold on. Rick is saying, good morning. I cannot stay, but I have to say I love the live streams and all the videos. Quickly become, oh, thank you so much, Rick. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So oftentimes when, let's think about when people retire, and it's unfortunate. A lot of people will say once you retire, a lot of people will pass away. And it's because a lot of people don't plan for retirement, because your identity is your job. Your routine was your job, right? For my old job, since 99, I had a 7:30 a.m. meeting every day. Well, Monday to Friday, right? So my routine, I knew every day I had to be up at a certain time at work and ready for this meeting. So what happens when that meeting's gone? I thought I'd like to sleep in. Couldn't sleep in. My body was used to getting up. So what are you doing now when you wake up? I spent my weekend. Awesome. You're getting there. You're on a roll. So what ends up happening, what I noticed here is, a lot of expats come here and they'll introduce themselves, or they'll hand out like an old business card or whatever, and they'll say what they did in the US. There's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like some of us are no longer that person, right? So how do we navigate becoming or finding our new selves, or becoming the next generation of ourselves? So one of the things is like, how do you let go of that 9 to 5 mentality? And I don't have all the answers for this. This is a discussion, but I wanted you guys to start to think about this because no one really talked about it to me before I moved. People were like, you're going to be bored. What are you going to do with your time? Because they knew I was so used to being busy. So let's get in here. So how do we let go of the 9-to-5 mentality? How do we let go of the structures of our job or our careers? And how do we let go of the validity of our job titles, right? It's a lot of these topics will overlap and I'm going to go back and forth, but it's a hard adjustment. Like I'll say YouTube has kept me very busy, busier than I would have liked, right? That gave me something to do. And I think because I'm so young, I sit here and I'm like, well, I'm now 49. What am I going to do with the rest of my life, right? Am I going to be tired of Panama? And am I going to be tired of being a YouTuber? How do I navigate this new role, right? I still feel like I'm bringing value, like I did in my old job, but there's a pivot you have to make with letting go of that 9-to-5 mentality, and you're going to have to figure out what's best for you to let go of that. But you really, really need to be aware of it. There was an event I went to here with the British Chamber of Commerce. And someone it was a luncheon, someone recognized me. They're like, oh my gosh, you're a broadability. And like, you helped me to move to Panama. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. And then they started introducing me as a YouTuber. And I was like, no. In this arena, I would have preferred to have been introduced as a former wastewater utility director, right? And I had to check myself in that moment because right now I am a YouTuber. But there was something in that moment where I was like, I'd rather be introduced as my old title, because in this luncheon, that would be more respected. And that's a shame, right? That's a shame, but I have to acknowledge that I felt that way, because there's nothing wrong with being a YouTuber. There's nothing wrong with being a content creator, but I wasn't ready for that pivot. I'm fine with it now, but in that moment, I wasn't ready. So these are the things that you really have to be aware of. And like, how do you move forward from that? And how do you redefine yourself in your new life? So a lot of people will pick up hobbies, or they'll say, oh, this is something I've always wanted to do. And they find that, and it keeps them busy. And it's nice to watch. I'm starting to see people build YouTube channels, or they'll start tour companies, or they'll start podcasts. Photography. What are you going to do to give you value if you need it? Some people are like, I don't care, I can sleep all day, I can watch TV, and they're happy. But for those who need that sense of accomplishment, who are used to that, who are used to giving, who are like servant leaders, what are you going to do to fill that time in? So I have some comments coming in. Oh, thank you, Bruce. I appreciate it. Thank you. Zen vibes. I don't have any of those issues. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to survive with an income and too young to retire. Yeah, so it's a huge issue that a lot of us have. Like, I literally was too young to retire. When I quit my job, everyone's like, oh, she's retiring. I'm not getting a retirement check from my job, my old job. I can't get it. So I'll get a pension from them, but I don't get that until I'm 62. That's a long time away. So am I retired? I quit. I'm not getting a retirement check. So yeah, and please, Zen vibes, you absolutely have to figure that out. Some people have various forms of income because you do not want to move and not have that figured out. A lot of things can go wrong, and you want to make sure you can sustain your move, so you don't have to move back if you don't want to. People move back, and that's fine. But yeah. All right. So how do you build a new identity as an expat? How do you start to discover your passions, your hobbies, your interests, who you are outside of what the job told you to be, right? I was told I had to be a certain way, right? I was told not necessarily how to lead. I chose how I wanted to lead, but there were certain things I had to do every day. There were certain targets we had to meet, blah, blah, blah. How do you now find your own identity without that, right? And I think what ends up happening is you now have a chance to sit still and be quiet and learn yourself. Learn who you are. You get to sit and analyze your past, your current situation, and where you want to go. And it can be scary and beautiful at the same time. I know it took me a year. It took me a year. And there was a time I wasn't even really posting on YouTube a lot because I was tired. I was depressed. I was learning myself. I was working through some things, and I just didn't feel like having to do anything. I did not want to be told what to do anymore. I didn't want to have to do anything but wake up, eat, and go to sleep. If I wanted to go to the beach, I would go to the beach. If I wanted to go to an event, I would go to an event. But it was so liberating to have control over my own life. And it's like you don't really think about it to that extent that the job has control over you. They tell you when you have to wake up. They tell you when you can go to lunch. They tell you when you can leave for the day. They can tell you when you can take a vacation. How do you control your life without those? What is the word? I can't think. I'm still asleep. Without them telling you how to live your life, right? So these are some things that you just have to consider. So Bruce, this one's coming up next, and this is something that I struggle with, but it is absolutely coming up next, and I'm glad you brought it up. I'm going to bring this comment back around. So some of the things, like, you kind of are coping with social pressures and questions, like, well, what do you do for a living? Say nothing. And people who are still working, who still have the 9 to 5, who still have their careers, cannot grasp that. Because if you're not like of retirement age, for example, well, what are you doing with your life? Who are you to be able to do nothing? Oh, you'll hear things like you're busy doing nothing. When are you going back to work? Are you bored yet? I've heard so many things, right? On the flip side, when people are in this life of ease and life of tranquility and relaxation, oh, you're working too hard. You're doing too much. They're putting their issues and their perspectives on you. You do you in your retirement. You do you during your sabbatical. This is your time in your life. Don't worry about what other people are saying, because they're always going to say something. This is about how you are redefining yourself in your time and on your terms, not theirs. That's their life, their issues, and their career or their retirement. Said, I am blessed and busy doing. Yes, do you. Do you. And there's so many different ways for us to do you, to find yourself, to live your own life. And the point of the last comment was, you don't have to give in to the social pressures. You don't have to give in to what people think you should be doing. And it's such an amazing feeling. It's just liberating. It is liberating. And I'm so happy for people that can do this at an earlier age, because had I worked until in my career at that level I was in, had I worked until 62, I truly feel like that job would have killed me. And I would have been sacrificing my health and my happiness for a career and a job where you're replaced the next day, right? What does it feel like to pour so much of yourself into a career, a job, a group, people, a community, for it to be gone the next day, and for all the work you have done to potentially be changed, or the next person that comes in erases it? Do you hold on to that? Do you let it go? How do you let that go? Right? Some people can let it go right away. I did my part. I'm done. I contributed, blah, blah, blah. It's, you know, so I knew when I left my old job, people have different mentalities, different ways of leadership. I knew some things were going to change. I have no control over that. But how do you deal with that, right? So Frank is saying you're spot on with how people look at you when you retire early. Great perspective. Yeah, I think in the US, we're so conditioned. Go to school, you get a good, you go to school, you get a good degree, get a good job, and then you work until you're 62 or 65, whatever age they keep pushing it back to, right? We are told what to do verbally or subliminally every day of our life, right? So when you break away from that, it's like, what are you doing? Are you crazy? Like, I was told to get a government job and work there until forever so you get a pension. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to be extremely happy for my pension. I have half of my mom's pension now as a death benefit from when she passed away. But she worked her entire life at that job, right? That's what we were told. So when you break away from the norm, when you break away from the herd, you're crazy. It doesn't make sense. Not only that, people can't process the possibility. They can't think that it's possible because we're so conditioned to work until we're a certain age, right? But you don't have to. What you do have to do is figure out how you're going to live and sustain yourself, but you don't have to. And I can't explain how liberating it is and how great it feels. There was a slight moment where I went back to the US a couple months ago, and I went to a conference to see some of my friends. And this was a conference I would go to every year. And I was just looking around, and it's the same hustle, same routine. I miss the people. I miss my old colleagues. I miss the camaraderie. I did not miss the work. I did not miss the stress. I did not miss the politics. But when you're so used to doing that, it's hard to let go, right? Some people love control. And when you let go of that job or you retire, that control is gone. That sense of meaning is gone. That purpose is gone. So how do you find that again? Do you still need that? Do you still need that? I don't need that control. I don't need that level of responsibility. I don't want it. What I do need is my peace. And what I do need is my freedom. And that's what I value more now than I do my old job title. Good mood. I love the content. Thank you, Don. Janine Petty. Good morning. I'm looking to find myself instead of a job. That is only a means for me to pay for the stuff I don't. Yep. Let me tell you, we work, we get a raise. Our standard of living goes up. We have to get the next thing. It's this hamster wheel rat race that we're caught into. It's hard to get out. When you get out, you're like, wait a minute. I was doing that for so long. I was doing that to myself, right? I think we would, and I know I'm veering off topic a bit, but we were so scared to lose a job. A lot of people were, right? That we would endure a lot of crap. We would sacrifice part of ourselves for that paycheck. And when you no longer have to do that, when you no longer have to sacrifice yourself, you're finding ways for fulfillment. You're finding ways to bring joy. with you all the time that you have, not after work and not on the weekends. And it's beautiful. Like, it took me a while. I've been here for what, 2 years, to realize that and I mentioned it before, I forgot that I used to want to be a photojournalist. Like, I loved photography. That's one of the reasons why the YouTube channel was formed. It was creative outlet for me. But I loved it and I forgot about it because I was so busy at work, because I was so busy giving myself to that job and to the people there. But now I have time to give. I can give to myself, and that's not selfish. It's not selfish. Don't let people tell you that you're being selfish with what you're doing. It's your life. Janine Pretty, Panama's on my list to visit, to hopefully move to very soon. I hope you like it. Come here with an open mind, open eyes, embrace it all, the good and the bad. Bruce is saying, I didn't plan on retiring when I did. It took the death of my son that made me realize it was more to life than working. I'm sorry to hear that, but yes, I agree. And I might start crying, but I don't know if I really shared this. I always knew that when my mom passed away, I would get half of her pension for the rest of my life as a death benefit. She sacrificed in her retirement a smaller amount of the pension to give me that death benefit. And I was actually on my way I was on the plane to Panama when I found out my mother passed away. And it was one of the most spiritual plane rides of my life. You're in the clouds, you're in the sky. It was just a lot. But in that moment, on that plane ride, I felt like she released me and she freed me. And I knew I was acting in a role because my boss had quit. So they moved me up to another role acting, and I was now managing all of wastewater treatment for the city of Houston, not just operations that I was used to. And I didn't want that job. I knew in my hearts of hearts, I didn't want it. But most likely I might have taken it at my own detriment. And when she passed away, I felt like, no, you're free. You don't have to do that. One life to live. Life is too short. She wouldn't want you to be miserable. You have to live your life. And that's when I decided I'm not taking that job. When I returned back from Panama, I gave myself a certain time frame. I let them know I was quitting. They knew I was going to quit whenever she passed away. I let them know, and then 6 months later, I left. So thank you for sharing that, Bruce. Don Simpkins, I'm planning to retire within 24 months. My plan is to retire in Panama, Colombia. My biggest concern isn't money. It's how do I build community? Do you find it difficult to build as an expat? I think it depends on your personality and what you're looking for, because there are various types of communities that you can be a part of. I am actually I'm an introvert. I can extrovert for YouTube. I can extrovert for this live. And then when it's done, I'm like, ugh, right? So when I go out to social events, it's a lot for me. Like I feel like I'm on, right? Hi, how are you? You're talking a lot. So it's easy to build community if you're intentional about building it, right? And it's what community do you want to be a part of, or what community do you want to build? Is it a community of expats? Is it a community of people from that country? Is it a community of people from various countries? Is it a community from church? Is it a community from volunteerism? So there are ways for you to build community. It's just dependent on your personality and what type of community you're looking for. I think it's very easy to build community with expats from your country. You instantly have something in common. Whether you're going to get along or not is different, but you instantly have something in common. And for the most part, people who have moved to another country know how difficult it was, knows the stress. They know about the excitement. They know about the bumps in the road, and they're giving a hand back to other people that are coming, right? So in that sense, you can have instant community right away. You just have to navigate who your tribe will be, if that makes sense, Don. All right. Hola from Panama City. Hola, buenos dias. Glad to have you guys here. Is this discussion making sense? Because I really am half asleep. All right, let's see. Did I do this one? Yeah, I did. All right, financial mindset. Okay, so we have to go back to what was mentioned before. The financial mindset shifts. And it's kind of funny because I was thinking about this. I was like, you know, I had a certain salary. I knew I would get certain raises every year. And I was paid twice a week. Now I'm paid once a month. And it's like, oh, there are no raises. This is my quote unquote salary for the rest of my life. And I think some of the shifts that had to happen were before you were saving, hopefully saving for retirement, right? Saving for the future. And if you retire or quit early or retire early, you're no longer saving for the future. That future is now. And I had to look at my money differently as opposed to saving for the future. I'm now subtracting from what I have. And it was like I had buckets of money where I was like, okay, this bucket will get me from this year to this year. Then I shift to the next bucket. This will carry me from this year to this year. I'm now working towards that 62 where I know I'm going to get that pension and hopefully Social Security. But that mindset had to shift. I'm no longer saving. And it's weird and it's scary. Some people are able to save. I'm not saving. I am seeing the buckets go down. Some buckets are going up and those are the future buckets, but those immediate buckets of money, it's weird to see them go down to zero. All right. It's weird to be like, okay, that money is gone and I'm moving on to the next one. It can be very scary, but you have to be able to shift your mindset around money. And people don't discuss these things. And it's fascinating to me. Hold on, some more comments are coming in. Okay, thank you. It makes sense. Thank you. I chose hourly pay. Okay, excellent. Excellent. At some points, I was hourly, and then it changed to salaried. Money is money to me. All right. So some other things are, how does your professional experience still serve you, right, after you quit or retire? It's not that you have to completely let go of all of your experience. Your experience from your job or your career can benefit you. It can benefit the new country. It can even benefit how you approach hobbies. I know me being a former director has helped me with how I approach YouTube. It can help me with how I'm presenting information to you, right? Because I was used to doing presentations. It can help you if you want to form a charity. It can help you with community service. It can help you with giving back. There are various ways your professional experience can help you in your new life abroad. So don't discount it. It's not like you have to completely let go of it. But the stress of it, you can let go of because you don't need it. We don't need that stress. We don't need that stress. Do you find that expats tend to overspend? I think it depends on the expat. There are some that came here with they were excellent with budgeting. They were excellent with money. I was just talking about it with one friend the other day. She used to like calculate down to the penny. Right? I don't do that. So I have been overspending and I am budgeting now because there's a certain lifestyle I want to live and maintain, and I have to pivot in order to be able to maintain that. I think it's natural when you first move to a new country, you're going to spend more than you thought because you might be going out more because you might feel lonely. You want to make you want to make friends. You want to build that community. You want to explore. So you might Uber or taxi or whatever, have a private driver at first. And then when you become more comfortable, you might take public transportation. You might walk more. You might ride a bike. So I think when you first move to a country, you do overspend. You might realize there are things you might need to buy here that you didn't think of, right? Or you're getting your apartment or house ready and you need to buy certain things. But I think after a while that can phase down and you can grab a hold and figure out what your budget's going to be, unless you were like me and you were living like a tourist for 2 years. You know, there are a bunch of people like me. Don't be me. I'm kidding. You have to do what makes you feel comfortable and what you need. And I needed to do that. I needed that freedom. I needed to decompress from the US, from my job, dealing with my mom's death, and being in a new environment, moving here alone. All right. And this can kind of go with what you just asked. Avoiding overcommitment abroad. And I struggle with this, and I did struggle with this at my old job. I sometimes will overcommit to my own detriment. I want to help. And when a lot of people are asking for help, when they're asking me to do this, can you come to this event? Can you come to this thing? Can you come to this place that's 6 hours away? And I'm like, sure. And then it takes me like days to recover from that. They don't know it takes me days. They don't know I'm actually sitting here with my butt hurting because I was sitting on a wooden plank for 5 hours on a boat. They don't know that. But you can overcommit. And you have to be able to understand how much you can give of yourself, how much you want to give of yourself. And the word no is there for a reason. And if people don't understand that or respect that, they may not be meant to be in part, as part of your life right now or forever, right? There's an overcommitment that can happen in the beginning. And it also can happen because you're used to being busy. Some people don't know how to sit still. Some people don't know how to live a tranquil life because all they know is the rat race. So if you're that type of person and you move, you might want to be at every event. You might want to be at every volunteer option. You might want to go to everything. And you can wear yourself thin. You can be extremely tired, and that can lead to you spending a lot more money than you thought you would have. So I think that's really all I had on this topic. Do you guys have any questions? Now would be the time to ask. We have time. This is an early one. It's only a half an hour. So I'll give you an example. So I went to this charity. It was kind of like a charity event. People flew in from the US, and there was a community in Cologne that was extremely remote, and there was a school, maybe a community. I don't know how many people were, maybe 100 kids in total. And people brought school supplies for them. They brought toys. They had written like what they wanted for Christmas, things of that nature. So some people in the US purchased stuff. A lot of people in Panama purchased stuff. And then a bunch of us went out there to meet the community, spend time with them, and then give these items to the children at the school. I went to document this for the person who was organizing it. And we've worked together before, and he does a lot of phenomenal things. So that was Friday. All day yesterday, I slept. I barely wanted to get up today. Wednesday, coming up, I am being flown to another part of Panama because they want me to document something for them. I'm tired. I'm going to be tired. So am I overcommitting? It can come in waves. It can come in waves, but I wanted to give an example of that. So I'm going to be in this other part of Panama for 3 days, then come back, and then have a video ready for you guys, think of something for the next live, put the content together for everyone else. And everyone at home thinks I'm busy here doing nothing, right? I'm actually overcommitted. I would say for this month, I have been overcommitted, and I'm going to have to start to say no when my heart wants to say yes, because I know they're good deeds. I know these are things that some of these communities need, and that these kids wanted. But yes, you can absolutely become overcommitted abroad. And do I have any regrets with being overcommitted? No. No. My butt might be sore, but I have no regrets. So these are things thank you. I am taking care of myself. Trust me. I literally slept all day yesterday. I'm going to run and film an apartment for you guys after this, and then I'm going to come back and rest. But yeah, any other questions? Trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to discuss. The other thing is, even if you quit or retire, you might be able to do the same thing in the new country in some form or fashion, right? So although I can't work as an engineer here in Panama, could I volunteer in some aspect for wastewater treatment? Yes. Could I ask if an advisory role is needed? Yes. So there's ways, if you still have that yearning and you still want to do something in your field, just because you're so passionate about it, you might be able to somehow or fashion do that in your new country. And I'm sure at some point in the future, they'll get me to do wastewater here. Just not now. Not now. Whoever's trying to, not now. But yeah, so if you guys don't have any other questions, or do you have any general questions about Panama, I'll give you guys a couple of minutes to put them in the chat. If not, I can see you next week. Do you guys have any topics you want me to cover for the next live? Maybe that's a good question. I have some ideas, but I don't have to always dictate what you guys look at. Okay. All right. I knew I should have done this. I meant to do this before this started. Daryl, can you, okay, when the live ends, can you repost this question in a comment, and I'll circle back and give that to you. This question, I'm getting this at almost every live, so I'm just going to have a response that I can put up when this comes up. But yes, I have lawyers that I can recommend. What I'm doing is, a lot of people have been asking about lawyers, attorneys, expat groups, and realtors. So I don't recommend any one. I give you a list as a starting point, because there are more than whatever's on the list. And then you can explore those and find the right ones that are for you. If you don't like any of those, you'll probably be able to find other ones. But definitely post that question after, and I'll come back to you. How to move to Panama before retirement? That's hard to answer. It depends on the individual, but you would have to, and I had videos on steps to moving to Panama. You have to find out what visa you can apply for, and then which one is best for you, right? Are you coming as a digital nomad? Are you coming as an investor? Are you coming as a retiree? I know you're not. You have to figure out what visa you can legally be here under. And then after that, you have to really understand how you're going to sustain your lifestyle here, how you're going to make money. Panama can be as expensive as the US for certain people, depending on your lifestyle. There are parts of Panama that are much cheaper, but I don't think it's as cheap as people think it is. So you have to be able to sustain yourself here. Okay, yo hablo Spanglish. Yo hablo español cada día, y yo tengo amigos que yo practicar with. See, there's my Spanglish. So For those who don't know what I just said, I speak Spanglish. I try to speak Spanish every day. I have a lot of friends that I practice with almost daily. I will watch a lot of Netflix shows. I watched a lot before I came in here that are in Spanish, and I would read the English subtitles. That helped out tremendously. I used Duolingo, although I haven't used Duolingo probably in a couple of months. I was doing that daily. My personal trainer barely speaks English, so twice a week for an hour, we're helping each other with English and Spanish, and that has helped me out tremendously. And although I don't have the proper accent, although I only can speak in present tense, I'm learning the past tense now. Also music. So I'll listen to a lot of music. Like I like Daddy Yankee. He raps really quickly. So I will listen to a lot of music to help, even though I don't know what they're saying. Every now and then I'll pick up words. I can say an entire song, for example, and I don't know what they're saying, but you just have to practice, and don't be afraid of messing up a word or sounding like an American. It comes with time. It comes with time. So yes. Yes, Carnival is coming up, and let me be clear, I'm not where I live. The Carnival stages are right there, and the entire apartment vibrates for 4 days straight. Was it 3 or 4 days? I don't know. It's all a blur. It's all a blur. And it's different stages. It's different stages, and the music's all going at once. You can't differentiate the music. The first time I came to Panama, it was for Carnival. And that was in 2004, and I had a marvelous time. And we went around a bunch of places in Panama and experienced Carnival in different parts of Panama, and it was completely different. So how it was in the city, it might be different in Colón, it might be different in Pedasí. So it's a vibe. It's like a fabulous time, especially if you like to party. If you don't like to party, and you live near where some of the parties are, you're gonna be. You hear my New York accent? It comes out. It comes out. It comes out. Especially if I'm around a lot of New Yorkers, it'll come out. And certain words too. Please cover water. Is the water safe to drink? Thank you. Okay. Yes, Daryl. So it depends on where in Panama you're going. Water in Panama City is safe to drink. I use a filter at home. I'll pour the tap water into the filter, let it drain out the impurities, and drink it. If I'm at a restaurant, I sometimes will order bottled water or tap water. I haven't gotten sick here from the water at all. There are certain parts like Bocas del Toro where it's not safe to drink the drinking water, but they let you know that ahead of time. So a lot of people will just use bottled water there. It depends where you are, but the major expat areas like Panama City, Coronado, Gorgona, El Valle, Boquete, those places, safe to drink. Yes. Okay. I'm going to write these down. Household goods. Pen's not working. Oh, Bruce is from Harlem. Hello. So I went to junior high school in Spanish Harlem. So I left New York at 13. I went to school then in Pennsylvania, went to college in DC, and then I moved back to New York for like 4 years. And then I ended up working in Westchester, and then I moved to Houston. But yes, the New York accent comes out every now and then. All right, and are there any other topics you want me to cover in the future in a live? So Daryl, I don't know if I'm going to do that in a live or just a general normal video. I have to figure out what'll make more sense, but I can cover that for you guys. All right, if there's nothing else, I'm going to see if I can go film this next apartment for you guys and then see you guys next week. Thank you for being here. Adios.